805-413-8000, 805-413-8000. Of course, my email is david@homeloanadvocates.com. That's plural, david@homeloanadvocates.com. Thank you very much for letting me get all that in. I'm exhausted now.
No problem. If you're a coaching student, let them know you're a coaching student. If you're just somebody listening to this as a podcast rebroadcast, tell him you listened to it on the podcast. Let us know. We'd like to know.
That would be great.
Well, you missed out last week because apparently I talked about probates for too long on the call last week, which I was right about the information. But this nitwit had to write in an email to me to explain I knew nothing about probates. And, and they're great. I am always fascinated by real estate agents who have to take time out of their day because they don't agree with a video or a podcast.
I have been corrected many times.
I think the greatest line I ever uttered, I don't know if anybody on this call goes that far back. I was at an event in San Francisco doing my short sale thing back in 2007 or 8. And this woman walked up and she said, my broker said, just fill in the blank. It didn't really matter. And I said, and how long has your broker worked as an asset manager at a bank? Well, he said, well, your broker's stupid. To which she got upset and left. I said, it's a free event. I realize I'm not for everybody. Oh, well. So the big phenomena this week, there are a couple of phenomena to talk about this week. 3 topics for you, David, that you're going to like. Let's start with, because it was a question from Armando, which is talking about the real estate bubble. We'll talk about a couple of bubbly items. Number 1, I've said this to everybody on the call, and I wanted your feeling from out in the Conejo Valley. For those of you who don't know, David also has a brokerage in the Conejo Valley. He is one of the largest brokers out there. He is a power player. He is the man. Just that.
I don't know about that, but we're
pretty sizable. The topic is, are your people who are putting up tags seeing other agents' marketing materials?
Well, we do see some, not very much, but some.
I have seen a trend as of late where the amount of marketing materials from investors / lawyers / whatever. Now, here's the amusing part. Masquerading as homeowner advocates. I can't imagine where they got those ideas. And going out and putting up marketing to go meet with homeowners has increased.
Are we talking about door hangers or packages?
Yeah, door hangers, flyers in the door. Sorry, nobody's gone to the trouble. I think I saw one rough recreation of the monster, and I kind of know who that is. He's been around for a while. But the rest of it are generally flyers or information where they can get help kind of thing. But yes, I'm just, based on the market conditions, to answer Armando's question, it's not going to take agents very long to want to get involved in pre-foreclosure property thinking that that's the market again. I mean, they're predispositioned at this point to know what happened between 2007 and 2010. I realize it'll take the brokers pushing them into it, but it is a thing.
I think that you're going to see a lot more. I think you're going to start seeing more competition. I mean, I don't know about everybody's market, but in my market, I know that that sales activity is down 6% year over year. So the market there are fewer transactions in the market, but there are more listings. So it's confusing for a lot of people. How do you have more listings and fewer transactions? So that's an interesting part of the market. I think that you're going to see people as it gets tougher and tougher to make a living. You're going to see them working. You're going to see 2 things. You're going to see some agents working harder and trying things that they didn't want to try anymore, or they're going to leave the business. They're in favor of salaried, more consistent income opportunities. So I think that it's the problem with distressed properties is that it's not like an expired listing or a FSBO where you can go in and just talk about ways that you're going to sell a house. Distressed property is really focused on, you really need some specialized knowledge because there are unique challenges. I mean, you're 80% therapist, and 20% agent / investor. Phase one of the communication is really understanding where they are, where they're trying to go, and then helping them sort through the possibility that may or may not be able to happen. And once you help them get into acceptance, through that process, you're earning the trust. So when they are ready, even though there's no cost and there's no obligation, when they are ready and they finally, decide that it's time for them to begin the process of transitioning out of that house and to get that weight off their shoulders, it's quite likely, very probable, that they're going to call you and ask about next steps, and you'll be there in order to hold their hand through that process as well. And that's when you get compensated as a real estate agent or investor.
We have 2 articles this week, David. 2 articles because you missed one from the week before. And I know that you do a weekly video, so I'm going to give you a choice. I bet you will wind up doing a video about one of the 2. They're both pretty good. Have you done your video yet?
One today. No, I'm doing it this afternoon. So
all
tell
right.
me.
So you and I are both, what was the movie with Batman about the market crash? Why can't I think of the name of it? Christian Bale. About the 2007 market crash. And it was a book.
Okay.
And I've read the book. Can't even think of the name.
I know what you're talking. Oh, you're not talking about Batman. You're talking about The Big Short. The
Big Short.
Okay, I was thinking Batman name.
Yeah, no, my bad.
Batman movie.
It's a Christian Bale. Christian Bale will now be Batman forever. He could also be American Psycho, but I just couldn't remember it. The Big Short. I've read the book, read the movie, and he does bring up a really good point, which is a great perspective. It's also an asset manager perspective, which goes to our first article. The first real keynote to a market that's changing is the amount of fraud that occurs. He brings up that point in the book, and he brings up that point in the movie. They go and research the fraud that's happening in Florida. The reason I bring that up, CoreLogic did a report. Mortgage fraud is on a climb, David. On a ridiculous climb, 12.4% year over. In New York, New Jersey, and Florida again. And the reason I bring this report up, the CoreLogic did, they don't have any skin in the game, even though they do sell the data. If anybody wants to read it, it's corelogic.com/mortgage fraud report, all one word. 12.8% jump in one quarter, and the trend is going up. There are now organizations that are creating complete financial histories and taking live calls and creating fake pay stubs. That's not a good sign for the market.
There's certainly some signs that should cause us to be concerned.
I knew you'd like that story, David.
Yeah.
The other big article this week, and you can.
I'm interested to know what kind of fraud. I mean, how are they?
Okay.
You think the banks would have figured this out? I know that there's a lot of wire fraud going on.
Right.
With escrow companies or fake escrow companies, and phishing scams. But I'm curious to understand how you can commit, mortgage fraud. I guess it's just lying on applications, and is it that simple? Lying on applications and fabricating proof of income and that kind of thing?
Bridget Berg, the principal of fraud solution strategies for CoreLogic, had this to say to your answer, David. Because home prices are rising and demand is strong, most mortgage fraud in this type of market is motivated by bona fide borrowers trying to qualify for a mortgage. Undisclosed real estate liabilities, credit repairs, questionable down payment sources, and income falsification. And that is the most likely misrepresentation.
So it's the same old playbook.
Right.
Got it.
Looks like they have more than they have with less. Right. With less.
All right. I thought maybe they were using blockchain or something cool and fancy.
No. Same crap that tore the market up before.
Got it. Okay.
States with the greatest year over risk are New Mexico, Mississippi, Illinois, Oklahoma, and Texas. Of these, New Mexico, Illinois, and Oklahoma now have risk levels greater than the national index, which grew from 133 to 149 this year. The conforming loans for home purchase segment shows the greatest risk of increase by loan type, and income fraud risk had the greatest increase year over, followed by occupancy and transaction fraud. Oh, straw buyers are making a comeback. Property and undisclosed real estate debt showed declines in risk. So straw buyers, falsified assets. I mean, that's what we're looking at, David. Falsifying assets is not good for a market that is built on escalating home prices.
Well, listen. What they're saying there is certainly true about affordability and issues related to people getting qualified. I mean, we're seeing. I mean, that's one of the problems that we're having in the market, and it's causing prices to come down. So, I've been doing a lot of my videos have been on that subject. So, I don't know. I don't know where the market's going exactly. But I do know that it's going to be on the decline, and I know that there are still a lot of people who are finding themselves that have been in this distressed space or underwater space and have been holding on, looking for a way to exit. And if prices start to decline, you're going to see people who are not distressed but are underwater finally say, you know what, I can't wait. They've been waiting 10 years to get to the place where they can get out without a short sale. And if prices decline again, they're going to bail. And I think that means they're either going to go ahead and put it up or they're put it up on the market and just try to do the best they can, or they're going to do a strategic default. We haven't used that word in a while. That used to be pretty big in 2010, 11, 12. They're going to do a strategic default in order to force the bank to allow them out of their mortgage.
Nothing more irritating as an asset manager having someone call me up and say, yeah, well, someone told me that I should miss my payments. Ugh.
That's the worst advice possible.
Oh, it's the worst advice. So, by the way, for everybody on the call, bad advice.
Unless you're banking the money plus the late fee so that you can make it up in one lump sum 3 months into it.
Right? It's a whole thing. I knew you'd like that article, David. Also, because this one is so juicy, I couldn't let it pass. Caldwell Banker is getting into direct home buying business, David. I couldn't lay off this one. So
who's getting into it?
Caldwell Banker.
Okay.
So it looks like that may be the case, as one of the nation's biggest real estate brand is planning to launch its own direct buying business, and its siblings may not be far behind. Realogy Holdings, the parent company of Better Homes and Gardens, Century 21, Coldwell Banker Commercial, and the Cochrane Group, ERA and Sotheby's International Real Estate, announced Tuesday that Coldwell Banker is planning to roll out a direct buying business in a couple of markets, with potential sizable expansions on the horizon. According to Realogy, the real estate giant is partnering with Home Partners of America and its subsidiaries Catalyst, a launch quick cash sale program for Coldwell Banker customers. Under this program, the homeowners can get a cash offer for their house from Catalyst within as little as one business day. With the rollout, Catalyst becomes the latest in the growing list of companies buying homes directly from homeowners. Online real estate giants Zillow and Redfin both have big expansion plans for direct buying business. Plus, there are a handful of companies that focus on direct buying, like Opendoor, OfferPad, Perch, and Knock. Each company's program functions slightly different, but for the most part, the companies buy the house, allow the seller to set the closing date within reason, then make the necessary repairs or improvements to the house, and sell it back on the open market. What sets Coldwell Banker's program apart is that the real estate agent is still front and center in the sales process. Oh my. Under Coldwell Banker's program, a homeowner of a qualifying property who lists their home will be able to receive a Catalyst cash offer on their home, typically with one business day, of providing the property information to the real estate agent. Then the homeowner has 5 days to decide whether to accept or reject the cash offer. If they reject the offer, the home will be listed and sold through traditional real estate methods. On the other hand, if the seller accepts the